Good afternoon, Packers fans. Aaron Nagler here with your Packers Daily Chat, coming to you live on the CHTV social channels. Happy Monday. Hope you all had a great weekend wherever you were, whatever you were doing. March Madness certainly was chalky, but outside of that, no Packers news breaking over the weekend. So your guy got to have a mostly relaxed time with his friends and family. I hope you did as well. Coming up 1 month from the draft in Green Bay, Wisconsin, as of today. That's right, 1 month to go. And that means a month of content geared towards the draft. And you know what that means. That means lots. And I do mean lots. I underline and italicize lots of mock drafts. And I'm not here to tell anyone how to behave on the internet because God knows that's a fool's errand. But I will admit that back in the day, years and years ago, young man full of beans, I was vocal about my burning hatred for all things mock draft. And as I've gotten older, maybe a little bit more cynical, but also maybe a little bit more wiser, I've come to understand that this time of year, especially now that the NFL has pushed back the draft as far as it possibly can. And even when I say that, I mean, it's at the last tail end of April, and they have had it at the beginning of May, which was a special level of hell. But the end of April means you're going to have a month's worth of content, essentially, after everyone has a pretty decent idea of where guys fall. The athletic testing, for the most part, not every single guy, but for the most part, has been done and dusted. And we understand who these guys are as far as their measurements, their tape, athletic thresholds, etc. And we'll spend the next month debating, talking, highlighting, issuing certain prospects, guys we like, guys we don't. And in that vein, be on the lookout for my annual Aaron Nagler Draft Crush video, which will be coming in the next week or so. Last year, first time ever, Katana Oladapo, an actual Aaron Nagler Draft Crush, did get drafted by the Green Bay Packers, breaking the curse. But that's what this next month is all about, right? Essentially looking at the draft in as many different ways as you can. And one of the easiest ways to do that is via the mock draft. And like I said, I used to viscerally hate mock drafts. Like they would get my back up just seeing the words together. But I will say, as I've come to appreciate and get to know a lot of the folks who are charged with creating mock drafts, and several of them throughout this draft process, I've learned to stop worrying and love the mock draft. And that doesn't mean that most of these folks are, taking stabs in the dark at, team needs and maybe every once in a while some information from certain teams. But for the most part, it is an outside looking in exercise of what they feel teams are needing, and then and or combining that with the research they've done, the tape they've broken down, etc. 99.9% of the time, though, it is just a thought exercise. Now, as we get closer to the draft, obviously, I think guys like Daniel Jeremiah and, yes, former Packers beat writer Bob McGinn, who have inroads in buildings and know guys in the profession, they tap that information and they tap those veins, so to speak, to produce something that is akin to a little bit more informed as far as their guesswork goes. But for this next month, I'm asking folks, because I do see this quite a bit, and it does remind me of how I used to respond when I saw mock drafts. I see a lot in responses to not just Cheesehead TV content, but draft content throughout the internet. Oh, I hate mock drafts. Mock drafts are so stupid. Oh, this would never happen. And you're probably right. It probably would never happen. But the whole idea of the mock draft is to generate conversation as far as, well, this is the team need as we or I perceive it. You may disagree, which is understandable, but why do you disagree? What do you think about that prospect? Now, I get it. In 2025 on the internet, I'm asking for a whole lot for civil discourse, and I don't expect that to ever really occur on the regular. But I'm asking most of you on this channel who do come and chat with me on a daily basis. You're a very different breed. You're a little bit more discerning, I would suspect. And maybe some of you do fall into that category, like I used to, of just absolutely loathing mock drafts. And I know nothing I'm going to say here is going to change your mind per se, but just try to peruse a mock draft or two. And I'm not even saying you got to, go after and look out for all of them. Obviously not. That would be way overkill. But pick a mock draft or two every week and just read through it and see the arguments that are made for certain moves, especially obviously when it comes to the Packers. That doesn't mean you have to take it as the Bible. It's not gospel, but it's just something to think about. And I hope the more people do that, the more we can have discussions here, both on Packers Daily, but more importantly on some of our draft content about what you do kind of agree with or disagree with and why. And that's where I just wanted to kind of lead off this week with, I know this next month is very mock draft laden. And we'll probably do one here on the channel, but just a little something for your Monday to gnaw on, think about in lieu of any real Packers news, other than McCole Hardman's going to wear number 6. But that was my thought process today. I hope you all can take that in stride. Hope you appreciate it. Checking out everybody here on the live chat. Good to see everybody checking in. All the regulars. Dale, good afternoon. Brandy is here, of course. Bill, good to see you, buddy. Joe, everyone checking in. Before I get to your questions and comments, I did want to draw your attention to a very special event coming up next month, actually a little less than a month now, on April 17th at the Timber Rattlers game. Andy Herman and I will be having a pregame draft talk and meet and greet at Draft and Craft Night at the Wisconsin Timber Rattlers game. There is a link in the description of this video where you can find tickets. The ticket will get you a box seat to the game, a live Q&A session with Andy and myself, and $3 craft beer and brats available to you all night long. And of course, most importantly, you will have the opportunity to try Carry the G. Carry the G Cream Ale, the official beer of Cheesehead TV, will be on offer at the Timber Rattlers game. So make sure you check that out. As I said, link in the description of this video. Get your tickets now. Appleton, show out. It's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, for no other reason that you can try some Carry the G.
Well, we carry the G wherever we may be, so creamy and cold, and from the land of the green and gold.
That's right. Good stuff. Good stuff. Carry the G available all throughout the draft week. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hello, everybody. Hope you all doing well. Jim is here. Dennis, hello. How are you? Brandy, that's an excellent question. Will the draft this year get added to the Heritage Trail? That's an outstanding question. I would hope so. I mean, not only the fact that it is clearly the biggest event the Packers will ever host, it is set to be the biggest event ever held in the state of Wisconsin. So the historic nature of it is undeniable. And, to your point, the Heritage Trail is all about important historic moments in the history of the Green Bay Packers. I think it probably should include the NFL draft being held in Green Bay. We shall see. You might be asking that, Brandy. I suspect you might be, because we just dropped a new video earlier today. I hope you guys get a chance to check it out. Corey Banke had a really good time talking to the folks over at the Neville Public Museum there in Green Bay. They have a very special Packers exhibit that has kicked off, actually started on March 1st and is going through the draft, highlighting the relationship between Green Bay Packers players and the city of Green Bay. It is very cool. This is something they did a couple years ago. They've kind of reimagined it around draft time to kind of try and bring it back for a wider group because there will be so many people in town, obviously, for the draft. So if you're going to be in the Green Bay area for the draft, I highly recommend getting yourself over to the Neville Museum if you want a little taste of it, or if you're not going to be able to make it to Green Bay, make sure you check out Corey's video. It's very cool, very informative, and really, I think, and Corey kind of says this in the video, it really makes you proud to be a Packers fan, to see the symbiotic relationship and also how it's grown over the years between the team and, the, what do you call it? The folks in Green Bay. No doubt about it. How many times are you going to watch the movie Draft Day before the real draft? 0? Negative is -1, maybe -2. That's what I think. Let me see what else we got. Hello, Nags, Northeast Indiana watching. listening and commenting on Cheesehead TV. Thank you so much, Carrie. Appreciate you. Hope you're doing well. Marshall Duke starting us off with a super chat. How are you, man? If Musgrave doesn't bounce back and become a player in 2025, does a pass catching tight end become a priority a year from now? A Gates/Kittle/Jermichael type? Well, they kind of have a Kittle type, don't they, Marshall? In Tucker Kraft. I mean, I've been saying essentially since the end of the season that tight end is a sneaky need this year, mostly for the H-back stuff. But I do think, it's a pretty pivotal year for Musgrave. He's got to, stay on the field. There's no doubt about that. But also, clearly, he needs to be productive. He needs to show his value to the offense. If that doesn't happen, then yeah, I would suspect they might start looking to the draft to find his eventual replacement. They often like to get out a year ahead of a guy's contract being up, and that could definitely be the case with Musgrave. And the concerning part when you talk about Musgrave's lack of contributions so far, it's not so much that, yeah, of course, you want him healthy. He has to stay healthy if he's going to contribute. But man, he did not exactly start on fire last year during camp or during the regular season prior to getting hurt. Not saying that it was all his fault. I think some of it, the design of the offense, things weren't really called to feature him. But yeah, he had some opportunities in camp and really never kind of came up with a tough pass or made the catch that everybody saw him in the end zone and he drops it, and things down the seam that, he had a chance at it. Jordan puts it in a good spot and he can't come down with it. I just think this is a year where he has got to not only obviously improve in the downfield production, but also just in the physical aspects of the game when it comes to the blocking, both in the run and pass protection. He's got to really solidify his game in that regard to justify playing time and getting him out there on the regular, because you can't put him out there if he's a liability, especially if he's only out there catching passes and being a target, because then defensive coordinators already know what's going on as soon as he runs out into the huddle. Ian, how are you, man? Thanks for the super chat. Do you think the pass rush can return to the 2023 form in 25? I think people forget how good they were with the same guys in 23. Much love, Nags. Ian, I do think there's a possibility. I do think there's certainly way more talent on hand than was displayed throughout much of last year. It certainly feels like Gutekunst and the Packers are counting on that. And that would, not only because they haven't really added anybody, though I suspect they will in the draft, but also a coach who was promoted to, from an edge to a defensive line entirely coach to then being dismissed would suggest that these guys did not take to the new scheme the way they had hoped, but they think they are more than capable and willing and able to. And that's why Covington's there. And that's why hopefully we'll see a step forward, as you say, for guys who seemed pretty darn productive the year before. But it's not like they were a house on fire in 23. Let's not kind of overinflate it, right? But certainly they did appear to be a lot more disruptive and a lot better at winning one-on-ones in the year prior in a different scheme. And I can't imagine that just disappears with the insertion of a new scheme and a new coach. Cheesehead Joey, how are you, man? Speaking of Oladapo, what do you envision his role is on defense next year? Probably deep depth, I would suspect. I mean, I do not doubt for a moment he will continue to be a pretty significant contributor on special teams, but in a rotation that most likely will see, obviously Xavier McKinney and probably Evan Williams as your two regular safeties, with Javon Bullard as your slot and or nickel guy. I can't imagine there's a obvious path to playing time for Oladapo outside of injuries in front of him. And that's not anybody's fault. It's not a fault of his. I think he has done well with the limited reps he's been given. But those guys are starters in front of him. Now, that doesn't mean that he can't help you immensely. And who knows, man, between him and Zane Anderson, that's a pretty decent room, right? As far as guys that can come in off the bench and help you if there are injuries. Now, look, there's every possibility, every chance that he comes into camp and absolutely lights it up, and maybe he challenges for that job across from Xavier McKinney for like Evan and Zane and those guys. I don't suspect that will be the case, but I mean, this is the time, right, between year one and year two where guys traditionally make their biggest jump. And you never really know where it's going to happen across the roster, but crazier shit has happened, and I certainly like the guy's upside, and he certainly looked the part in that one game where he got extended action last year. So yeah, I would suspect the idea going into the year is, yes, he's a team's demon with the ability to help you out if injuries strike, but who knows how the summer plays out. We shall see. Ed, how are you, man? Just make sure every draft choice is a future Hall of Fame prospect. I mean, Ed, right? How hard could it be? I mean, really? Come on, just draft all pros through all 7 rounds. I don't know why Brian has to make it so difficult. Siggy says, year 3 for our wide receiver is going to fly to the top. I mean, that is the idea, right? The idea that, yes, they had a down year pretty much across the board last year, but you would suspect that talent didn't go anywhere. That promise is still a bit uncultivated and kind of tapped into. And there certainly is precedence for guys taking a step in their 3rd year at that position. Now, in this day and age where there are so many receivers in the draft and the position is really kind of ramped up as far as development goes, the amount they are used even in high school now is vastly different than it was even 10 years ago. Guys doing the 7-on-7 stuff all off season. There really is no off season anymore. Wide receivers seem to this expectation seems to be that they come in and are able to contribute right away. It's not always going to be the case. And some of it is, opportunistic, opportunities there or not there. But yeah, I don't doubt for a moment guys like Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks, etc. This is a year that we'll find out a whole lot. And I do think the plan seemingly, certainly if you're looking at the Packers operation throughout this offseason, they definitely expect a big jump from those guys. Joey, what's going on, man? Jair is still a Packer. Just saying. Just kidding. He's gone. I mean, look, the longer it lingers, right? I know the more we're going to hear about this, but I continue to say it. I will be shocked if he's a Packer in 2025. I'll be very, very surprised if he's a Packer after the draft. That's just me. But as long as, like you said, as long as he remains on the roster, people are going to talk about it and people are going to say, hey, there's every chance he's back. I don't think that's the case, but we'll see over the next month or so. Michael, what happened to Packerman? I believe Packerman he was at the new Live X office down in Brooklyn, but he may also have been mailed back to Green Bay to Corey's house. So I'll have to check with Corey on that. Hopefully during the draft, I will be reunited with Packerman. So if they take a player I really don't like, I can make him pay the toll. John, early draft crush for me is Isaac Tesla, round 4 or 5. John, this is the best time of year because there are so many dudes that don't get talked about on the regular. Isaac Tesla, phenomenal. Let's go. I mean, there are, I would say, on average every day, if you watch like the Twitter kind of chatter, right, you'll see the same 100 or so names over the course of a month, 2 months, whatever. Then you get to the draft, right? And 300 plus dudes are selected. And so many of them are unfamiliar to most of the public. So yeah, man, Draft Crush video coming out in a week or so. Be on the lookout. Craig, thanks for being a Care of the G Club member. Appreciate you. Can Musgrave move to wide receiver? In Madden, I doubt that happens in real life, though. I hear you, though. The idea of trying to utilize his speed and playmaking ability and explosiveness and use him to get down the field. But nah, he's a tight end. And even though I know, given his weaknesses as a tight end and his strengths catching the ball, especially yards after the catch, it would suggest maybe they could, right? I mean, look. What's his name? Oh, my God. I'm totally blanking. Oh, God. This is the perils of doing live stuff, especially when you're an old man. Alan Lazard. God, I couldn't remember the name. Alan Lazard. Alan Lazard was a tight end. before becoming a wide receiver and languishing away on the Jacksonville practice squad where the Packers plucked him. So I'm not saying it's impossible. It's highly unlikely, though. Let's say that. Joey. Also, new font for Super Chats? I mean, this is how you know we're in the dead period prior to the ramp up of the draft, because Joey is highlighting the Super Chat font during a Super Chat. And yeah, you know why that is? Because, you know, the presets changed and I never look at it. So it just happened. I hope you enjoy it. Marshall Duke, how are you, man? Do you think the departure of TJ Slayton will have a significant impact on our run defense? The departure of Cullen Jenkins comes to mind. That's when our run defense went south back then. I think they're very different types of players, but I hear you as far as the possibility of a cascading effect, especially when you look at the splits regarding their success with and without him on the field. Though even there is some context when you talk about, well, yeah, he was playing mostly on early downs where you tend to run the ball, and the numbers might be better on third down when he's not out there and they're running on 3rd and 10. Yeah, they might get more yardage, et cetera, et cetera. Well, you know, there's lots of variables there. But your overall point is not, you know, without merit. I do think it is a concern sitting here right now, a month prior to the draft, but let's see what happens in the draft. I would think they will most likely come out with a player or even two across their defensive front who, while not particularly one-for-one replacing TJ Slayton, I do think they'll get athleticism, explosiveness, guys who can really fit the bill as far as what they're asking those guys to do up front to, again, you're never going to replace exactly what he did, but give you similar types of production. That's where, especially in this draft, this particular draft class, which is so deep at that position, I'm not concerned. Now, Lord knows I ain't been concerned about a lot and had to turn around and bite the Packers in the ass. But sitting here right now, like I said, let's get past the draft and reassess after that. All right, everybody. I'm gonna have to get going. I cannot thank you enough for hanging out, talking Packers each and every day, Monday through Friday, right here on the Cheesehead TV social channels. Please do me a monster favor and hit like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and then tell your friends and tell your family. Cheesehead TV. We are devoted to Green Bay Packers fans worldwide. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great night. Go Pack Go.